Hello there and welcome to my YouTube channel Julia McNeil Crafts, and welcome to another Dawn and Julia Create. So Dawn has set the challenge this time and we are to use buttons, white gesso, souffle, gilding wax, gouache, one wooden element and then the words from Dawn's kit. We can use anything recycled as your base, 3D or flat. So I'm hoping Dawn will let me away with this, but when I prep demos for Telebox Land, I have to do multiple stages, which means I end up with random bits like this. And I've been looking at these for ages, thinking I really must try and do something with them. So yeah, I hope Dawn doesn't mind me trying to. Now, because these ones are on card, the trouble is they're all gel medium together. So I'm not going to have as much leeway as I would have if I was to do other things. And I have an idea of what I would like to do, but I'm not quite sure if I could pull these apart enough. But we'll have a see. So I am recycling old projects. Right, so I've managed to pull those ones apart, which is good. As I said, they are sort of stuck together, but it is what it is. I have in my head that I would like to make a tree, but as I said, that is very much going to depend. Oh yeah, I'm managing to pull these off. There you go. So gel medium does literally stick. Oh, now look, that has pulled off part of the canvas, but I am liking the texture. Ooh. I might have to do this. Also, there's something really weird happened with the connection of my camera, so I am just going to try. I like that. My idea of the tree might change now because I want to keep the texture of the canvas. So this is definitely recycled. She said a recycled base, and I'm recycling a project. I'm pulling it apart and recycling. Right, I'm just going to double check because I don't want to be missing any of the chat because I'm loving what's happening here. So I'm just going to double check everything's okay with my camera. I think it's all still recorded fine. So I think the project that I'm going to do is going to end up being smaller than what I'd envisioned. Because look at that. Look at that texture. That's awesome. So it's also a lesson in that you can change your project halfway through and embrace the imperfection. As I said, this isn't exactly me changing the project halfway through. Oops. Kind of ripped that one. But oh, look at that. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. I wonder if I can still do my tree. I need smaller buttons. Oh, I love that. That is so awesome. Because I was kind of like, oh, I'm not really happy with the layout of these things because they worked for the project I was doing, but I don't really want to do the same project again. But then you see all this stuff sort of lying about and it seems like a complete waste. Right, I'm wondering now, were we allowed added card? Mind you, I'm recycling. I kind of want to do a tree. I'm hoping this is okay and I've not got too far off piece. But I'm thinking that we do a funky buttoned tree. And then one of my wooden elements I will get from some of the Mad Hatter's MDF that I have. Let me just look at the instructions again. Buttons, gesso, gilding wax, wooden element. Oh, one other item of your choice, right? My other item of my choice is that cardboard because we're going to make a tree out of it. Right. This is definitely recycling. I'm making a complete mess here, but I'm having fun. So it's all good. Oh, I'm just loving the fact that I'm pulling apart these projects that I've done before and then just creating the most amazing texture. Now, the trouble is, if I do a tree, am I going to end up losing... Oh, I don't know, because if I do that, be alright. I don't want to lose this texture. Getting all thingy about it now. I don't want to lose the texture. Right, I want to... Let me see. I'll do the tree trunk and see how much of my background texture I lose. No, it's not too bad actually. Right. Doesn't look anything like a tree now. It's a tree in my world. Sorry guys. I've still got a bit of a cough left. Fully recovered from COVID, but I still have a bit of a COVID cough. Like that doesn't look like very tree shaped at all, does it? Right. Let's draw so that we've got more of a tree shape going on. Okay, that is cool. Right, now if we can bring some of these other buttons in. Oh man, gel medium works wonderfully. But it's adding a crazy amount of extra texture because I kind of want this to go across a bit more. I don't want my tree very round. I want it sort of, yeah, that's cool. And then maybe another, now that is going to have to go on some vintage project now. Look how rusty and rustic that's going to look. That's going to be awesome on something else sometime. Anywho, see, I've not wrecked anything, I've just created new and interesting things to work with. It's quite interesting working with a project that's sort of partially done because I'm kind of having to work around it. I can't necessarily put the buttons as I would have had them otherwise. Right, I like that. It's just needing something. Oh, I've got songs in my head. I've just been to the oh yeah, I like that. Okay, so I've got that, and then what I'm going to do is these bits of cardboard that I've got, I'm not even going to stick them down properly. I'm just going to stick the bottom part of it down like that, so that's flapping about, so that I've got movement for grass, if that makes sense. So let's grab the gel medium and get all of that stuck down. What I am going to do is just take, this is what I tend to do quite a lot, is I'm just going to take my camera, oops, that was typical when you're trying to do something like that. I'm just going to take my camera like that, and that's just going to allow me to see how I had it arranged. Just have that to the side of me, just so that when I pull it all apart, I don't lose. Now, to be honest, there's not that many bits to it, so because most of it's all stuck together. Right, let's get this. I'm going to use an old brush so that I'm less likely to wreck it. So you can see how forceful I was having to be to get that gel medium off. Yeah, so it shows what such good stuff it is. Right, so we had that was about there. So we'll need masses of it on, and then what I will do is leave this overnight. Now, well, I definitely know Dawn's going to be using white gesso this time, don't I? It's part of the instructions. Takes out our usual guessing game of like, oh, what sort of gesso will we use? We always guess the same thing anyway, so I suppose it's maybe getting a bit old. Yeah, I'm literally filming the last Dawn and Create at the same time as I'm filming this, and I've just been talking about, I wonder what gesso colour that Dawn's going to use. It's funny. It's funny, I'm talking to you at the same time in two separate videos. Right, get this down. I am so excited about this project right now. It's just, in my head I was like, oh, I really should use this stuff because it's also where most of my buttons are, stuck onto these canvases that I can't really do anything with right now. So I'm excited to be using them, but also I wasn't even sure it was going to be able to work. I was thinking I was going to have to stick to kind of close to what I'd originally had, which, to be honest, I wasn't feeling overly inspired about. So the fact that just having a go and having a play has sort of created all these extra added elements that I wasn't expecting. That is, I'm needing that to go just a bit higher, so I'm just going to grab some of this cardboard. I just need to build it up so that it sits over this one a little bit. Oh, get that. But as you can see, I'm using absolutely loads of gel medium. That is what's going to help it to stick. Right. And then I'm hoping that, and I've not even actually checked, I think that's maybe one too high. I've not even checked, but I'm pretty sure I've got some little woodland creatures, woodland creatures, and then I can have that down the bottom. I think that's my plan. I'm just checking my photo. This is why I did it. It's also like 10:30 at night and my brain stopped working, and I've just been to, I don't know which video I've said this in now because, you know, I'm filming two videos at the same time, both for Dawn and Julia Create, so my brain's not switching between the two very well. But we've just been to the end of year school disco, and oh well, the kids haven't had that for so long, so it was so nice to see them all just like really enjoying themselves. But honestly, it was P4 to P7, so that, what was that for? There's a 5-6 class, a 6, so five classes all in the one hall, all screaming with excitement, and yeah, having a whale of a time, and loud music playing. So my head is mince, quite frankly. It's also really, really hot. Right, what I'm actually just doing here is I'm just randomly sticking a whole load of gel medium on here because I'm thinking that it's going to be easier to wedge my pieces onto that. You know, my little torn bits. I think it's going to be easier just to get the gel medium down first. I'll stick these down. As I said, I'm not sticking them fully down. I'll probably neaten up the base of this at some point. But right now, I'm just trying to get texture. And to me this is looking like grass. I realise it's actually just looking a whole hot mess right now, but I have faith that this will become something beautiful. So I'll let this dry, and then in the morning I will join you after. I'm hoping I'm going to get to sleep because it's absolutely cooking. It's so hot that I can imagine that sleep will be hard to come by today. Oh, I'm so happy. I really wanted to do a button tree. I really did. And the fact that I've got a little button tree now is just making me really happy. And I've got all this extra texture and oh, it's just wonderful. I love crafting. It just makes me happy. It makes me happy. And I love it when you can just faff about and have a play and things work. It's nice when it works. I'm trying to find these bits that are just a bit more like paper. I'm just building these up, and then, and just to give it even more texture, I've just already put my gel medium away, which is, oops, which is a bit annoying, but I can open it up again. I'm just going to put another lot on here, and then I'll do another layer, and then that means, because grass has got more than one layer to it. To give all my brushes a wash, I think, before I go to bed. Right. Get that a bit thinner. Oh, this is fun. Right. And the gel medium will also, even if I don't cover all the bits up, the gel medium will also provide some form of texture as well, which is cool. Can't wait to get this coloured up and extra interest on it. I think it's going to be fabulous. Fabulosus. And I'm just waffling. Like, Julia, get on with it. Sorry. Okie dokie. Oh, look. Isn't that fab? Are you excited? I love it. Love it. So, so happy. So I realise that right now you're probably looking at it going, why is she so excited? What an absolute hot mess. And I agree with you, it is an absolute hot mess. But right now, at this point in time, all I'm interested in is the texture and the overall composition, and I can see past the mess and how good this is going to look when it's all brought together with a little bit of colour, which we will do next. So it'll be overnight for me. I will be doing this most likely first thing in the morning tomorrow, but for you I will be back in just a momento. Okay, so this is all dried now, solid, ready for me to pull apart another day. Not quite, I think we'll stick with this one. Oh dear, I'm not using the best brush. I'm busy working on a couple of projects at the same time here, and I've gone through all my decent brushes. So after this, it was too late last night. I don't want to put too much gesso on the back here, but actually it's not filling in those gaps because I really want to keep those holes because I think they're fab. So I am now just going to put gesso all over this. It'll probably need a couple of coats, but this is why I am doing what I'm doing. I am working on a couple of mixed media projects at the same time. I do tend to find when working with gesso or on any sort of project that if you let things air dry they do turn out slightly better. Well, I think so. Everyone's each to their own. Your products can bubble a little bit if you apply heat. And when you're using a coloured medium, it can also affect the vibrancy of the pigment as well. So I do just prefer to let things dry naturally. Now I had these sort of deliberately slipping forward, but now whilst I'm getting the gesso on, the gesso's almost acting like a bit of a glue. So it's fine, you can have texture, but I'm just trying to, I'm trying to get it so that there's still a little bit of movement on them. And as I pull them down, they sort of start sticking. Get the old fingers in there. Best way to craft, I tell you. So, judging by how well that gesso, see that is filled in some of that, and I didn't want that. That sort of went too heavy with the gesso there. I like it over here where it's nice and light and not filled in that texture. You know what that is? That's because there's gel medium gone through and the gel medium was clear, but now the gesso's gone over it, it's taken that a little bit. So it gets to the stage now that because the gesso underneath is still wet, you're basically just moving gesso around, you're not actually improving the quality of the coat at all. So I'm just going over it now to make sure that I've got it nice and even. So judging by the coverage that I've got so far, I'm reckoning that we're going to need at least 3 coats, but I will not bore you showing me doing 3 coats because I'm not going to do anything different to what I have done. But gradually throughout the day, in between the other projects that I'm working on, I'll just grab it and give it another layer and let it dry again. So as I said, that's all, when I've put the gesso on, that's all kind of stuck all of that down, which is fine. It adds texture, but it's not got the same movement that I'd originally hoped for, but it is what it is. Right, so I will be back when this is all dry, well, when it's had its extra coats and it's all dry, and we are ready to start adding colour. Okay, so it is time to add a little bit of colour. I think the main part has had 2 layers of gesso and the buttons have had 3, so it's been a while. So what I want to do, I apologise for the fact I've got loads of colours on my desk. As I said, I'm currently working on 2 projects, so yeah, bear with. I've got loads of colours on this palette that aren't currently relevant to this project. So I have pulled out some blues in the gouache, and my idea is I want to sort of create the sky first, and I'm going to do that by adding the colour, spraying lots of water on, and let it sort of fall in amongst the buttons, fall in amongst the texture, and sort of create a nice light blue hazy sky. I'm running out of brushes severely. It's ridiculous. I mean, I've got a whole load washing, but I think I don't know how you can't really speed dry brushes. So anyway, I'm going to do this, then let that dry, and then what I'm going to do is try and put solid colour onto the tree and the grass, and then whilst this is drying, I'm also going to try and look out a wooden element that'll go with this, some sort of woodland creature or something. I'm pretty sure I've got something in my what do you call it, Mad Hatter's boards, so I'm pretty sure I've got something that I could use. So I'm going to have a little rummage through that, and I will get that to the stage where it's all gessoed ready to colour, and I will colour it at the same time that we do the button, that we add the colour to the buttons. But it's pretty much everything that I've done now. I'm not quite sure how that's going to end up looking, so let's get the water on that now, because I don't want to end up with too much colour. I'm just going to get my rag down here because that paper is not going to hold the colour very well. So let's just get that spraying. Let's see, I'm just trying to get a cloudy, sunny, cloudy sky look going on. I might just get my brush in there and sort of start moving some of the, encouraging it to move, because it still almost looks a little bit placed, sort of little lumps of it, and I don't really want lumps of it. I want a very loose, watery, and I really want this to dry naturally. So at least with this one, the current one that I'm doing, I'm trying to get posted ready for tomorrow. At least I've got time to let this let this one dry and finish it later. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do, and maybe just try and get a little bit more colour just in this corner, so that we've got a definite corner to the piece, and a little bit more colour just here. I will sort of give that the water treatment as well, just so that it matches, and I want to sort of, so that it's all not just like running down, I want to sort of rolling it in different directions, so we have the movement but not necessarily big streaks as such. Okay, so I'm just going to let that dry, and that will probably pretty much be my background. We'll see what it looks like when it's dry, but I'd imagine that I'll probably sort of be leaving it as is, unless it dries just ridiculously too pale, in which case we might add a bit more. But I yeah, it's kind of, it's not the feature, so I'm not too worried about how it ends up looking. I've totally diluted that now so that it's not there at all. So I put it back in with a brush. It's just that I need the water to get the transition looking even everywhere. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to let that do its thing. Continue to roll for a few seconds, then let that all dry off. Once it's all dry off, we will get on with painting the buttons and whatnots. Okay, so it's been dry for a few days now. It's looking good. I like the softness of it, so I'm quite happy. So now we're going to colour the rest of it. I'll probably start with you yabbering away like I do, and then I will most likely move on to a speed up, because colouring and building up layers of colour, it takes time, and yeah, so that this video isn't too long and that I don't bore you silly, I will probably put some of it on speed up, but I will just sort of talk you through my process of what I'm doing now. I'm actually using the gouache in its sort of liquid form here so that I can almost use it a little bit like I would an acrylic. Yeah, so that is my plan of action. So I'm just going to get a little bit of water on my brush. So I'm going to start off, we're going to do the trees. I'm going to start off with like the yellow colour, and as I said, this one I wanted to be a little bit more precise. I was wanting the loose washed out look on the background so that we had the clouds. So my favourite way of painting green or creating green on a project is I very rarely go for a sort of pre-made green. I don't know why, I'm never that keen on them, and I think it's maybe just that it looks quite flat on the project when it's on there. I don't know if that's it, I don't really know what it is. Got quite a lot of water on my brush now, it's got a bit more watery than I would have liked. So I think it might just be the fact that if I mix it up on the actual project, I get more tonality, I get more variation in tone, and that feels a little bit more natural, which when I'm doing something that's, you know, meant to be a tree, it's a button tree instead of button moon. Remember button moon? So yeah, I have pulled out a couple of different greens. I'm going to start with yellow and then build up from light to dark and build up the shadowing. Now, with the fact that we're working with gouache, it's essentially a watercolour, it's just got a higher opacity than your traditional watercolour, but it is water based, so whatever mediums or anything that's wet that you put on top of it, you will move the colour and the pigment, which is why I tend to prefer my acrylics for mixed media, because I can build the layers. I mean, I like my gouache and my watercolours, but just not for this style of project. But this is why Dawn and I set these challenges for each other. I have to say, I felt incredibly guilty watching the last one, although it wasn't my fault, but I still felt guilty, because there's Dawn stressing about could she use clear gesso and white gesso in the project because she had this idea, and I didn't actually say, I just said gesso. I didn't say white gesso, black gesso, minimum of one gesso, I just said gesso. So I'd merrily, this is the thing though, I think this is where with these challenges it can be a bit tricky. When you set the challenge, you kind of know what you mean in your head and you're not stressing about it too much, going, oh, did she mean this, did she mean that? You're just like, yeah, I said gesso, so it counts. Whereas if you're the one receiving it, because I know I've done that before, going, oh, does that mean this? Or whatever. So poor Dawn completely changed her project from what she had in her head. I mean, it still turned out absolutely stunning, because she was stressing about using two gessos, and I did that whole blended thing with a black and a white gesso. So yeah, I did feel quite bad. And then plus I was actually naughty because I didn't use Dawn's sentiment, I used a different sentiment. So I was the one that should have been being naughty. There you go. Now, if you wanted, you could sort of spray that with water a little bit, and to try and get a little bit of more movement going. But it's liable to sort of go into the background, which is kind of not the look I want. So I'm sort of now kind of coming in with that mint green. I'll probably go in with the bright green as well, and then eventually I'll come in, I'll just do it here, I'll come in with the blue and I'll just really darken areas, but I will try and do those, see, like that button is underneath that button, so I'll be trying to do that sort of like in the shadow area. So this is going to, as I said, take me a little while to build up. I've not chosen my wooden element, but in between the layers of this drying I will also probably pick up a wooden element as well, and I will most likely maybe either paint it off well, I'll probably record it just in case it's interesting. But if you see me switching to painting something else, it will be the wooden element for this. But as I said, as I'm waiting for one layer of this to dry, I will sort of, I've pulled that green in there and I don't really want that much green, so I'm going to pull in a bit more yellow. This is what I mean, there's an awful lot of faffing that goes on, and I'm not particularly cleaning my brush in between because it's gouache. Sometimes it just needs that water to get it to move a little bit. Also, because it's gouache, I could actually quite easily pick that green out, which I might do. I could just scoop that like that because we've got the water which has activated it, and then I just get in and dry that, so we can quite easily sort of remove the colour if we want. So this is probably not the most economic way of using my gouache because it's like I'm plastering it on quite thick, but do you know what, they're your art supplies. Use them in a way that makes you happy, and a way that, you know, you're happy with them on your project, and don't worry about it too much. So I'm going to finally stop faffing like I've said I would and move you on to fast forward, and I will probably colour up the whole thing, including the trunk of the tree as well. Okay, so that is as all coloured up, and as you can see I went for a little snail. Will most likely sit about there. So yeah, it's alright. I'm not 100% in love with it yet, but we've still got a few more products. We've still got Gilding Wax we're allowed to use, and Souffle, and of course Dawn's Words. And this time I will be a good girl and stick to Dawn's Words. And not just, you know, use random ones. She never put me on the naughty stick though. She had this poll going, do you think we would actually put each other on the naughty stick? Right, I am now going to do some dry brushing because, yeah, I'm not thrilled with the colouring, but this is normally when I would go and... See, Dawn would naturally do this. Dawn would naturally do this and then dry brush. The only thing with dry brushing on this is it is gouache and not acrylic, so it's water reactive. So even when you put your gesso down, you are going to move the layer that's underneath, so you're not going to get crisp white. So, but I was watching Dawn's video last week and she did manage to achieve it. She just had to keep doing lots of layers. So it'll help knock it back, it'll help us find the edges and the texture and stuff like that. And then I will go over it with the Gilding Wax and then stick my little snail down, which I'll most likely do with the old glue gun, just because actually this is done well in advance, but we are going on holiday on Sunday, and for once in my life I want to be, oh, the texture's coming up nice on on the cardboard there. That's given it a nice woody texture. I like that. Yeah, I want to be really organised, and also at the end of the holiday, basically we're making our way down to Peterborough because I've got a show, and my daughter's really wanted to, she loves crafting, so I'm going to have an entire summer holidays with lots of crafting. She's suddenly taken up sewing. So I've not sewn in a long time, so I'm quite excited actually. We were in Hobbycraft the other day and they had some patterns half price, so I've bought this bag pattern because she thought she'd rather start on that than clothes. Yeah, anywho, that's not what I was talking about. What am I trying to say? Yeah, so we're making our way down the road, and I'm working at the end of it. So the other thing is I want to get all my craft, because I'm working, obviously I have to take craft stuff with me because I need it for demoing, and I want to be like able to pack my craft bag and have that ticked off my list, but I can't really do it when I still need some of the stuff. So I've just done a little bit of a layer. I'm going to just give that a quick blast with my heat gun. As I said, just time wise, I really want to get this done tonight, so that we can be, so that I can tidy it away, I can tidy my craft room away, I can pack my craft bag, oops, I can get this all edited, scheduled, and we will be good to go. So as I said, I'm hoping now that the fact that there is a layer of gesso down, that hopefully the next time we dry brush now, we should be hitting that layer of gesso rather than the water reactive paint. And yeah, see, now this time it's, see the difference now, that's quite white and those ones are really white, and that is because gesso is a primer. So we've got the gesso down first because we've already done one layer of it and dried it. It's now hitting the gessoed areas, and where it's hitting the gesso as opposed to the gouache, we are getting a whiter thing because the gesso is designed to do that. It's meant to be a primer, so it's meant to sort of make all the surfaces underneath even, and it has done that. It's done its job. Because it's done its job, we've got those nice bright whites, although I'll probably be going over this again with Gilding Wax, so we'll lose some of those whites again. But it has just knocked the colours back, brought a bit of the texture now, so it doesn't look as, I don't know, I can't think of the word, but it just looks a little bit like cheap and nasty. It's like, yeah, the colours don't look great when you first just put them on. They just need a bit of extra work, but we've got some nice texture there now on our tree. And that's all. It's amazing. A little bit of white gesso difference that makes. Where's my snail gone? Here it is. And then we'll have our little snail there. Right, so I also have no idea what colour souffle I'm going to go for. So I'm going to pause the camera again. I'm going to grab my Gilding Wax, which will be gold because I always go for gold. It's my favourite one. And then I'm going to pull out my swatchy book, and yeah, work out what souffle. I will have to film a tiny bit in the morning because the souffle needs to dry overnight, needs to dry naturally, but that's fine. So 2 minutes. Okay, so as I said, I'm going for my gold Gilding Wax because that's the one I like, and I have gone for Emerald Constellation Souffle. Right, okay, I'm just going to show you this. This is the one. Look how well that goes with that. So this has got greens in it, it's also got like a bronze and a gold, which is going to go really well with that. But I'm just going to show you this. That looks nothing like that. So this is why you need to swatch, especially with something that dries so differently, and then it looks really different again. That's the same thing on black. I mean, I've actually gone by this one because I'm working on a paler project, but if I was working on black I would check that. So sometimes how we think something might look is not necessarily, I just always swatch your products. Products look so different, the way they're applied, when they dry, stuff like this, and honestly, for the time it takes, and also the money it saves using what you're going to like on the project rather than going, oh no, that's not really what I was going for. it's just, yeah, highly recommend swatching. Right, I am going to stick this down with my hot glue gun. It probably means at some point in life it will ping off and I will have to replace it, but it's a nice quick adhesion for this moment in time. So while I'm waiting for my heat gun to warm up, look at this. This is Pebble Gilding Wax. I had this since before my daughter was born, which she's 10 and a half now. I had it a couple of years before she was born. This goes on loads of stuff, and I've had it in classes. I've stuck my finger in and out of it for 10 years. It's not gone mouldy. I've still got a good half of that pot yet. It's probably going to last me another 10 years. It's great stuff. Because it has been designed as a furniture product, not a craft product. It's for renovating your furniture and things like that. That's how it was initially designed. And so yeah, because it's designed to sort of like, you know, decorate a chair or a table or a cabinet, it needs to go a little bit further than just playing with it on a mixed media project, which makes it just incredibly good value. The other thing is, because it is furniture grade, it's actually better if you polish it. So once you put it down, and the amount of times I forget that and I've got a craft wax and then I try and polish it and I end up wiping it off. But actually you can make it even shinier by adding, by polishing it. So I'm just going in catching the edges of some of these buttons. So it's kind of a lot of the area where our white was, where I'm just catching the edges of that. But again, this is all sort of building up the texture, adding that tonality to it. So we can see how we feel. About this. A bit heavy there, but never mind. That's fine. I've gone from sort of, we'll just have a few little touches. It's still looking good. By the time we've got the sparkle as well with the souffle, it'll really build it up. It's all these elements where you start adding your waxes and, you know, your dry brushing and your waxes, that all that texture that we put down at the beginning that looked so random and strange, that this is where it pays off and just lives it. And I also love putting gilding wax on stuff like this, you know, when it's like completely recycled. There's something, I love the irony of corrugated card and gold. And also what I might actually just do, seeing as I don't know if there was a black pen on the list or not, but I'm just going to, there's no distress inks, and plus I'm not sure that a black pen is gonna, I might have a doodle, I might be allowed a doodle pen, I don't know, I'll have to I'll literally just double check the list to remind myself of everything that's on it. But I'm just going to, I'm not activating it properly, so I find if you take a bit out and then sort of pounce it a little bit in the tub, it sort of activates slightly better. I'm just going to almost create a bit of a frame, a bit of a gold hue going around there. So that's normally what I would do with, you know, my distress ink or something. But the thing is, as I said, I'm not one for pulling out my gouaches for mixed media projects. I do pull out my wax, I'm not going to lie, but sometimes it's quite good. These challenges are good because it challenges me to use my products in a different way, or to pull them out for, and I've bought them because I wanted them, so I may as well use them. Okay, now I've got my hot glue gun out, I'm kind of thinking, oh, I could add like little berries and things to the tree, but then that'll require more drying and painting, so on this occasion I'm just going to leave it. Right, well, let's stick our little snaily snail down. Come on. And get some glue down. And I'm just going to pop the little snail there. Like so. Right, let me turn that off before I forget about it. Okay, so and now it's looking quite good now. And now it's going to look rubbish again because I'm going to put the souffle on. And because this souffle looks so completely different, it looks like I'm putting some strange... I mean, that really just doesn't look that pretty, does it? It looks like... I don't know what it looks like. It looks very strange. So, I am now just going to extend my tree. This is actually quite cool because we're softening the tree a little bit. Making it look more organic because it's going to have very loose, strange shapes. I mean, we sort of created... It's like when you draw a tree, you sort of create the bulk thing, but then if you sort of go over the colourings and stuff of it, it just looks a bit more natural. So I'm going to put some on some of the buttons, a little bit, but I'm mostly sort of going to try and add texture in and around this just to, as I said, extend the tree and just make it look slightly more loose. I don't quite know what I'm trying to actually say. It's quite worrying. Right. The other thing about these is, unfortunately, Craftbox UK is closed. I think we said that on the last one. Which I feel bad about because, you know, I'm using this gorgeous product and if you're wanting to get hold of it, you can't anymore, which is very sad. But then at the same time, I have this gorgeous product that I've spent good money on. I bought it with my own pennies. And your mixed paints and pastes and things, they have an expiry date. I mean, they don't actually maybe say expires on, but like they won't last forever. They will go off. So, you know, they'll go, some go mouldy, as I've discovered, some will go hard and dried out, and wouldn't it be such a crime if, because I can't get these anymore, you didn't use them, and instead of creating lots of beautiful products with a limited edition supply that you can't get hold of again, it just all goes dry in a pot and you have to throw it away. I mean, that would actually be the true crime. So use your products, get them used, because that's what they're designed for and that's what you bought them for. You bought them because you were inspired and you were like, ooh, I could do this, that and the other, so do this, that and the other with them. So, as I said, this just looks really quite strange right now because there's this sort of strange pinky, browny, funny looking... So at the minute I'm sort of aiming for a shape as opposed to how it looks, because it just looks very strange at the minute, quite frankly. But I think I know where I'm going in my head, she says. Right. Bring this down a little bit. Yeah. And then let's... I feel like I've made it very heavy now. Yeah, like very, I don't know, like I've stuck to a definite shape. I think I've lost the looseness that I was talking about, but yeah, I'll do it so that it's almost like cherry blossom coming off it down. Just little dabs. Yes, it's like the cherry blossom sort of floating away in the wind. It's come off the tree and it's floating away in the wind. That's the little story I'm telling myself anyway. Right, so we've got that, and then I'm going to put plenty underneath Mr. Snaily. Because, you know, normally there would be a little shadow under him. So instead of creating a little shadow, I'll just put loads of glitter. And I'm just going to pop a little bit. It's not as much. So we'll have quite a bit under him. But other than that, I'm just sort of going to paint it on a bit thinner on the grass, so that it's not quite as heavy as it is up there. And hopefully it'll maybe just look a little bit more impactful. So now I'm going to have to leave this. I'm going to leave this dry overnight, and then literally I will just be showing you the sparkle, adding the words, and then that'll be us all done. So yep, I shall see you in the morning, or in just a moment for you guys. There you go. Right, I need to stop faffing now. Now the little snail has got cherry. I didn't want that big a chunk of glitter. Anywho, right, I'm definitely off this time. See you in a moment. Okay, so this is it all dry, and the colours go really well. Yeah, they've just added that bit of depth and dimension with the colour. We've got the texture, so it looks more like a tree. Yeah, happy, happy, happy. So now all we've got left is to add one of Dawn's sentiments. And what was the one? Here Comes the Sunshine. I was going to go with that. So, I mean, I should probably get a trimmer out, make sure it's straight. But, you know, why be sensible? Okay, so I'll chop this down, and then I'll decide whether it's going to go just straight as is, like that, or whether I should break it up. There are two, so if I can have a little. Actually, I'm just gonna. I normally break things up in threes, but do two this time. Yeah, like that. Here comes the sunshine. Cute. Right. Get a little bit of glue. And we'll pop that on. So, as always, my glue's not working. That's not what I was about to, that's not how I was about to finish that sentence. I changed mid-sentence. I was about to say, as always, I would highly recommend that you go over and see what our lovely Dawn has done. She has set this challenge for today, so it will be really interesting to see what she has done. Yeah, exciting stuff. Right. I will just be, I'm trying to work out, yeah, I will still be on holiday when this goes out, so I will probably be sat up in a hotel, my earphones in, watching our Dawn craft one evening. So that'll be me. Right, so that is my project all finished. If you have enjoyed it here, please do consider liking and subscribing, and I will be back with some more crafty goodness very, very soon. Okay, take care then, and goodbye.